Hello everyone, reporting from Toronto. By the way, just found out it's Toronto, not Toronto. So I saw Jonathan Glazer's highly anticipated Grand Prix winner, The Zone of Interest, and I had the assumption that this was going to be this year's Tar, a challenging film, something that we're going to have to wrestle with, and boy, was that the case. For those of you who don't know what Zone of Interest is about, I'll give you a little setup. Zone of Interest is about a family living in a home right outside the gate of Auschwitz during the Holocaust. The heads of the household are Rudolph, a commander at the concentration camp, and his wife Hedwig, played by Anatomy of the Fall's Sandra Holler. So Jonathan Glazer makes you a silent observer of this family thriving under unimaginable circumstances. Much of the film is shot at a distance as we watch the family take part in just everyday tasks. In one earlier scene, we watch Rudolph, the father, just walking through the vast house in each room, turning off the lights before going to bed. The camera is completely squared off and still, and it just cuts from one room to another as he walks in, almost like home security cameras switching, kind of making you feel even more like a voyeur. It's a film that on its surface feels like nothing out of the normal is taking place. However, all the horror are in the details. Throughout the film, we hear faint sounds of gunshots and terror that is just taking place on the other side of that wall. The sound design here is a real highlight of the movie. It's fantastic. Often when you think of like a sound achievement, maybe this isn't the type of work that comes to mind. Maybe you think of like a big blockbuster like Gravity, where loud sound effects are layered on top of each other to generate a really heightened sense of emotion or like excitement. The sound work here is much less showy, but is incredibly effective and realistic. The wife, really realistically played by Sandra Holler, even in the way that she walks as her character. She kind of reminded me of like Mrs. Trunchbull from Matilda. But in a later scene, you see her in her garden, which is referred as a paradise. During the conversation, your attention is split and a little bit diverted because while you're trying to listen to what is being said, you're also distracted with the sounds of agony that you can hear very faintly in the distance. And I know Jaws is an overused example of sometimes what's often scarier are the things that you imagine, not that you see. But honestly, let's be real. Like when you watch the scene where Quint gets eaten by a shark, that's pretty damn horrifying as well. So it's both. And spoiler alert, by the way, if you haven't seen Jaws yet, Quint gets eaten by a shark. But Jonathan Glazer's choice in not showing the violence in the film was such a wise one. And I think he's telling us a lot about the dark side of human nature as well, and a human's ability to compartmentalize and ignore people's suffering, even when it's right in plain sight. Now, warning, I don't imagine this film will be everyone's thing. I've heard this film be compared to the work of Michael Haneke, and I think that's a perfect comparison. In fact, if you would have asked me before watching The Zone of Interest who directed it, was it Jonathan Glazer or Michael Haneke, I would have guessed the latter. So I would say if you're curious if this movie's for you, I think a film like Amour would be a good litmus test for you. Like Haneke, there's a coldness in this film and clinical detachment. There's long takes, there's static shots, there's use of silence. It's not in any way a breezy watch, probably not a film that you'll want to revisit over and over and over again. But honestly, if you're watching Holocaust movies like over and over again, then I don't know what to say. But at an hour and 40 minutes, it doesn't overstay its welcome. And the film does live with you long after the film ends. There are a lot of creative swings that Glazer takes. One involves this segment that was entirely filmed in like this night vision monochrome. Clearly an intentional decision, but one that I didn't fully understand. But I would love to get the insight of what that was about. Overall, Zone of Interest was one of the best films on the subject of Holocaust that I can remember from past years. Out of the films that I saw yesterday, this is the one that I woke up thinking about. So I give this film a 9 out of 10. Now let's talk about Oscar chances. I think this film is definitely getting in for picture, for sure. Perhaps like right now I would put it like number 6 or 7. So it's not like probably right at the top of the stack, but I think it's in that second tier. I think Jonathan Glazer is not completely safe because the director race is just so competitive, but I currently have him in right now, and I probably have him at number 4 or 5. Honestly, I think we can see many nominations similar to Tar. I'm thinking picture, director, maybe screenplay, maybe cinematography. I think it's a front runner right now, international feature. The biggest threat to win there is Anatomy of the Fall, which I plan to review next, by the way. That one has been making an impression on a lot of people, so I think it's going to be a two-way race between those two, and I think the winner will be whoever probably gets a Best Picture nomination. If they both get a Best Picture nomination, then it's going to come down to those two, I think, and I think I would give the edge to Zone of Interest. In terms of acting, the acting is super realistic, but it's not showy in ways that typically garner nominations. Sandra Huller is on the table already for Anatomy of the Fall, and I think she's more likely for that film. Well, those are my thoughts on Zone of Interest. What do you think Zone of Interest Oscars chances are? What other films do you want me to review at TIFF? Comment below. And again, I'll be dropping more reviews throughout the week. Feel free to hit the subscribe button. Follow me on Twitter, where I'll post immediate reactions to these films, links in the bio. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, everyone, see you at the Oscars and at TIFF. Oh, okay, I forgot about this. Canadian. Okay, my girlfriend's got another snack. Do you want to come on? No? Okay, well, just tell me what it is then.
These are Joe Louis.
Yeah, that tastes equivalent, if not better than a Hostess cupcake. That is good. Yep, I give it 2 thumbs up.